A young black waitress named Luana worked tirelessly in a bustling downtown restaurant, always maintaining a bright, cheerful attitude despite the daily challenges she faced. No matter how difficult the day got, she made it her mission to serve customers with kindness and offer the best possible experience. She greeted guests warmly, balanced trays with precision, and ensured that each table received excellent service. On this particular afternoon, as she was moving swiftly between tables, her eyes caught sight of something outside the large window. There, on the sidewalk, stood a man, his clothes tattered, his body frail, his eyes filled with hunger. The sight struck her heart like a hammer. His gaze was fixed on the plates of food inside the restaurant, almost as if he could taste the meals just by looking at them. Luana felt a deep tightening in her chest. The image was heartbreaking, too painful to simply ignore. Unable to shake the feeling, she hurried to the kitchen, her voice carrying urgency as she addressed Mr. Brager, the head cook. "Sir, I'm so sorry to bother you, but would it be possible to spare a plate of leftovers? I'll pay for it myself, no problem at all." Her eyes pleaded for understanding. Brager, however, barely took a second before snapping back with a firm, almost harsh tone. "Luana, let me make something very clear. Nothing is left over here. This isn't a charity. It's a business." His expression was serious, unwavering. Her heart sank. She had hoped, just maybe, he'd show some compassion. But no. He didn't hesitate, didn't even consider it. Feeling discouraged yet still determined, Luana walked back into the dining area. But no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't erase the man's face from her mind. That hollow expression, those eyes, filled with silent pleading. She knew what she had to do. Making a quick decision, she moved discreetly. She prepared a simple yet warm meal, a steaming cup of coffee, some bread, fluffy scrambled eggs, and a modest plate of food. Every motion was filled with care, her hands working swiftly, yet gently. Then, taking a deep breath, she seized a moment when no one was watching and slipped out the side door. Approaching the man, she spoke softly, holding out the plate. "Here you go, sir. This is for you." The man's eyes widened in pure shock, as if he couldn't believe what was happening. His hands trembled as he accepted the plate, his voice cracking as he whispered, I don't even know how to thank you. God bless you, miss." Luana simply smiled, a deep sense of peace washing over her. She knew, without a doubt, she had done the right thing. No amount of money or rules could convince her otherwise. With that, she turned back toward the restaurant, ready to continue her shift, unaware that this single act of kindness was about to change everything. Just moments later, she heard the unmistakable sound of heavy, deliberate footsteps storming toward her. A chill ran down her spine. She turned just in time to see Mr. Brager, his face red with fury, his fists clenched tightly at his sides. He marched through the dining hall, his anger drawing the attention of both customers and staff. The entire room fell silent. "What do you think you're doing, Luana?" His voice boomed, making heads turn. She swallowed hard, but stood her ground. "Sir, I was just trying to help. That man was starving." She kept her voice steady, though she could feel her pulse racing. Brager's fist slammed onto a nearby table, making silverware rattle. "Hungry," he scoffed. "That's not our problem. You disrespected my authority, ignored the rules, and damaged this restaurant's reputation." A wave of heat flushed over her face, but she refused to back down. "Sir, I was willing to pay for the meal myself. I just couldn't stand by and do nothing." Her voice cracked slightly, emotion creeping in. "Enough," Brager bellowed. "You're fired. Pack up your things and get out." Gasps rippled through the restaurant. Customers exchanged glances, some of pity, others of disbelief. Luana felt her chest tighten, but she wouldn't let herself cry. Not here, not now. Slowly, she reached behind her, untying her apron and folding it neatly before placing it on the counter. With teary eyes, she met Brager's glare and whispered, "That's okay. Because if I had the chance to do it again, I would." And with that, she turned away, grabbing her purse and walking out without looking back. From across the street, the man she had helped stood frozen, watching the entire scene unfold. His eyes followed her as she left, his expression unreadable, yet undeniably moved. Little did she know, that simple act of kindness was about to change the course of her life in ways she could never have imagined. Out on the street, Luana walked aimlessly, her heart heavy with regret. The realization crushed her. She had lost everything because of one act of kindness. Was it worth it? The question gnawed at her as she weaved through the busy sidewalks, barely aware of the people rushing past. The cold air stung her cheeks, but it was nothing compared to the sting in her chest. Tears welled up and fell freely as she stumbled toward a quiet park. Finding an empty bench, she sat down, staring blankly into the distance. A deep sigh escaped her lips as her thoughts raced. What now? She had no job, no income, and worst of all, she had to break the news to her ailing mother. How will I pay for everything? How will I take care of her? The weight of reality pressed down on her shoulders, making every breath feel heavier. Meanwhile, across town, the homeless man who had received her kindness was restless. His mind wouldn't let him forget what had happened. She lost her job because of me. I can't just do nothing. He knew life had been cruel to him, but this was different. Someone had actually seen him, not as a burden but as a person. And now, she had paid the price for that kindness. No, he couldn't leave it like this. He had to do something. Just then, as Luana sat deep in thought, a voice pulled her back to the present. Excuse me, I'm sorry, but aren't you the waitress from the restaurant on the corner? She blinked, startled, and looked up. A well-dressed man stood before her, his suit impeccable, his posture confident, yet approachable. She hesitated, feeling a flicker of suspicion. Who was this man? Yes, that's me, she answered cautiously. But why are you asking? The man gave a small, knowing smile. My name is Renato Albuquerque. He introduced himself. I happened to witness everything that happened back at the restaurant. I was having lunch there when it all unfolded. Luana's heart pounded. He saw? You saw all of it, she whispered. Renato nodded. Yes. I saw how you were treated, and more importantly, I saw what you did for that man. You couldn't just look away. That's rare. Most people wouldn't have the courage to do what you did. Luana lowered her gaze, her emotions still raw. I only wanted to help. I didn't think it would cost me my job. Renato studied her for a moment, then pulled a small card from his pocket and handed it to her. Your actions were admirable. The world needs more people like you. That's why I'd like to offer you a job. Her breath caught in her throat. A job. She stared at the card in disbelief, her hands shaking as she took it. Are you serious? Completely, he assured her with a warm smile. I own a chain of restaurants, and someone like you, someone with heart, is exactly the kind of person I want working for me. Luana's eyes filled with fresh tears, but this time, they weren't from sadness. I don't even know how to thank you. You don't need to, Renato said gently. Just keep being the person you are. The very next morning, Luana rose early, her heart pounding with nervous anticipation. She had called Renato the night before, and now, she was heading to his office. As she walked through the doors, a mix of anxiety and hope swirled inside her. Was this really happening? But the moment she stepped inside, she was greeted warmly. Renato himself welcomed her, leading her through the office with confidence. And then, standing before a gathered team, he made an announcement that left her speechless. This is Luana, he told them, his voice filled with certainty. She will be the new supervisor at one of my restaurants. Her heart nearly stopped. Supervisor. The room erupted in applause, but Luana could barely process it. Was this real? She had gone from being fired in shame to being valued in a way she had never imagined. For the first time in her life, she felt truly appreciated. More importantly, she could now take care of her mother without worry. She could pay the bills, keep food on the table. Everything was falling into place in ways she had never expected. Days later, as she was working at her new job, something unexpected happened. A man walked into the restaurant. But not just any man. Luana nearly dropped the glass she was holding. It was him, the homeless man. But he looked different. Clean clothes, a fresh haircut, a newfound light in his eyes. His voice was soft but steady as he spoke. "Miss Luana?" She turned fully stunned. "You. How are you?" He gave a shy smile. "I'm getting back on my feet. I've got a job now, all thanks to you. That day, you didn't just give me a meal. You gave me hope." Luana's throat tightened with emotion. Her chest swelled with something deeper than happiness, pride. She smiled, her voice thick with feeling. "You were always valuable. All you needed was to believe it yourself." From across the restaurant, Renato stood quietly, watching the moment unfold. And he knew he had made the right choice. Luana wasn't just a good waitress. She was someone who changed lives.